With Jujutsu Kaisen, the one thing I've actually really noticed about Akutami, and I think it was really done in this chapter really well, is that there, there are events in Jujutsu Kaisen that can slide by really fast, that are like very impactful without having to focus on them, but you still get the you still like if you pay attention to the story, you still understand the weight of something without having to outright have like a full personal chapter on it, which I do really like, where it's more on the events rather than the character. Because now Bito dying, like, it's staying in this chapter, like he has passed on, head of the Zen'In clan, he's gone. And I always assumed that if we would get like the passing of big Zen'In guy, that he would have a much more focused spotlight on it. Because I assumed that he would get way more from before he died, and it's not that bad. Like I would have liked to see more of his ability, because his ability, he probably has, to me at least, the weirdest ability in Jujutsu Kaisen, and I figured that we could see him again, like doing it, just kind of like maybe get a little. Like I can't even remember how it works. Like, for the most part, when it comes to powers, like some of the powers of Jujutsu Kaisen are very strange. Like his is at least to me the weirdest, and I can't even really remember how exactly it works. But where him being stated to be dead without showing him like passing or anything like that shows that it we don't care about the character, but him going is set up more as the event. And instead of it being on, like I said, his character, it's going to be focusing on how that like those events affect another character. Because now we have like these new members of the Zen'In clan shown. I don't think that they've been shown before, as far as I can remember. But you have like this one new Jinichi. He looks like the I can't, was it Ugovin or Uvogin, or is it, I can't remember if it's Uvogin or Ugovin or whatever from Hunter x Hunter, where he just because like he has that big like kind of probably like doesn't really care too much to keep himself clean shaven or anything. He's just a wild animal kind of guy, and he's even got the hair. They don't look the same exactly, but I mean, like, you could see where I could get like a little bit of vibes from it. But on top of that, you had like this other character who's like this old swordsman looking guy, but it's this other dude. Was it Naoya? I think is his name is stated. Yeah, Naoya Zenin. He's the one that's being set up as the next inheritor of the spot at the head of the Zen'In clan. And I like, honestly, if I just saw these three, I would assume that he would be the weakest, but it looks like he's the strongest, because he's talking shit at this other dude, Jinichi. He's saying like, "Oh, too bad for you. Toji's places aren't reversed." So he's bringing up Toji. I thought that was actually really interesting to note that, because like even though Toji didn't have any cursed energy, he is one of the biggest monsters we've ever seen in the series, and like they come out of the Zen'In clan like while being shunned, and him being able to almost do what nobody else had been able to do before, is like almost kill Satoru Gojo. And honestly, like if he just went for the kill, like if he just went and decapitated Satoru instead of just moving on, assuming he was just dead and gonna die, then he would be a legend. He'd be the one to actually kill Satoru Gojo. But we know that obviously that's not the case and stuff. But he's still like a monster. Anybody that knows about him, anybody that actually knows what he was capable of, knows that he was absurd. And if it wasn't for the fact that I wonder, he's like a scenario where if he wasn't born without cursed energy, like if he was similar to, like, it's one of those things when you look at like Asta from Black Clover, it'd be like, well, what if he had magic and he wasn't, had born without magic, and had his main character stuff, where would he have ranked up at? And that's the same situation that I see with in question of Toji. Like, would Toji have just been a absurd monster? Would he, like, that gap of where he was at physically translate into cursed energy? Because we know that the Zen'In, there was a previous Zen'In person hyped up to be at level with the last person that was in Satoru's position, who had both the unlimited cursed energy technique and had the six eyes. So the Zen'In clan had a person at that level at some point, and we know that it had the same power that Megumi has. But like, would Toji like potentially, like, if you gave him like a what if scenario, like I would really be curious of like where he'd be standing in the Zen'In clan today. But he's like dodging attacks from like or is it Jinichi? I can't remember his name already. Jinichi, and then the swords guy, what was his name? Ogi. He's like not even really worrying about this dude's sword attack. So like I can guess this guy's the strongest. And like it seems to even be further progressed in not only that short display, but when then this like short butler guy comes out and he's like, Naobito, the master Naobito of the Zen'in clan, like he's passed away. That's why I mentioned it's really interesting. We didn't even see him like in like his hospital bed or whatever, in his deathbed, in any regard. And like I said, I think that Akutami is going to be more playing on the events following his death rather than him in general, which I'm perfectly fine with. Like, because not every character you have to have like some super in-depth backstory, not to see everything about him. Some characters are just like strong and they'll die and get passed up. But it's even said is like, oh, the in his note, the 27th head of the Zen'in clan is to be Naoya Zenin. He's like kind of going over that, and it looks like he's like, okay, everything that this guy was expecting. But he's like, but if Satoru Gojo died or has become mentally incapacitated for any reason, a written agreement concluded between Toji and Naobito that it will be welcoming Megumi into the Zen'in clan, and he will be the new head. I'm super curious about that, because we don't know the exact conversation that went down that Toji like had when he had to give his son up to the Zen'in clan. Like that is still something like I don't think we've really gotten any details about. We haven't had like a flash into the conversation, but this is really big because Megumi now having a guy after him is very hype outright, because like this character I already like his design. It's very basic, straightforward, and it's kind of like a lot of areas, but like there's small subtleties to him that give us a little bit more to what he's just generally like his design. Right, we see like he's got some of those piercings. He's got like this like the weird button up like part around in his clothing around his neck while still in that like Japanese robe. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it does look cool just in his setup. But also he's got like this multicolored hair, kind of like how Yuji has it. Like there's not a lot of characters like that, I think, in the series. I assume it's multicolored. It looks some form of lighter color and then darker at the end. But I've always really liked that when characters have the multicolored hair. It just can look really nice. And sometimes, it can look really weird. But also one of the things I really liked about Kimetsu no Yaiba, just in general, how like every character had that dual colored hair. It just looked a lot cooler on like the volume covers and stuff, and obviously like colored. I don't know. Extra anime hair. Maybe that's just like my love for Yu-Gi-Oh talking of just like when hairstyles get really wild. But we know now that Yuta is back. Yuta is now the person that's going to seek out and try and kill Yuji. We don't know exactly how that's going to play out. I assume Yuji's not going to get killed, but we'll see how the interaction goes. That's obviously the bigger meat in there. But now this guy Naoya is going after Megumi. Like he's like, I'm just going to kill both of them. So we have an extra party. And to me, the biggest thing I like about Jujutsu Kaisen's setup is how it's not just that there's the main cast, like their faction, and then like whoever the enemy faction is, and maybe like another enemy faction that's like on the back burner. There's multiple factions that are going after them. I do really like that. That's to me one of the more interesting things about the layout of the world in general. I am hyped to see how things are now that you have all these cursed spirits running around in Tokyo and stuff. But the general idea of like you have all these competing groups, and there's also smaller ones that are not associated with any of these other ones, and it just adds for a little bit extra like investment on just like the events that's going on. I do really like that. I think that, to me at least, again, one of the things that I'm most interested in when it comes to the series, because we know that the Jujutsu I'm doing bad words right now. I think I almost said jutsu or something, or jujutsu, but Jujutsu Kaisen factions. We know that the Jujutsu like tech, like the main cast, organization, they had their own thing because they were, under Satoru Gojo, and he's essentially his own faction within that faction, and we know that they hated him because they couldn't control him. But we know that Jujutsu Tech, like, they're very corrupt. Like the fact that you have guys in there that are actively trying to get the members of the main cast killed, they're essentially like they're it's a complete wild card in who to trust and who not to trust in their own group. Whereas, like, you have the cursed, the cursed spirits. You have, like Ghetto's group, and we don't know exactly what's going on entirely with them, and exactly if Ghetto, because if Ghetto is like a really weird wild card too, because we know he has his own faction, his own followers, but obviously his body's been taken over. But we know his spirit and soul is still like active in there to a degree, but who knows how that's gonna play out. And then what's going on with the cursed spirits? We know that even amongst the cursed spirits, Sukuna will do whatever he feels like. He's not in the interest of cursed spirits. He's in the interest of himself. We don't know what's going on entirely with any remnants of like Mahito's group, like because Mahito out, Jogo out, Hanami out, Dagon out. Choso has now teamed up with Yuji. There's a lot of weird shifts in the factions as well that I am very invested in, at least for right now, because who knows how each is going to play out, because you have two different sides now coming at the main cast, not even counting just general cursed spirits and anybody else that are going after them. But later in the chapter, I did really like the conversation between Yuji and Choso. Choso is weird because with him, like, he was like outright killing civilians, random, just nobody, like, people, and it's easy to gloss over that and think of, there's like, who cares, they're not named character or whatever, but you still have to keep in mind he was killing innocent people. So he's like any interaction with him in this setup is so weird, because his character can't just be forgiven. Like, you can't just gloss over that. Like, I know, again, it's easy to think about from a reader standpoint. It's like, who cares, they're nobody characters, but they're still people in their world, and they should still be treated as, like, if you just saw somebody get, somebody killing people, like, on the sidewalk, doesn't matter if you don't know who these people are, you know that guy is a killer, don't, like, bad guy, right there. You don't care about the contents, like, behind that. Like, somebody just outright killing people like nothing, it's just like, oh, wow, this guy is beyond saving. And there's always a chance for redemption, but I mean, like, his redemption would have to be huge, because usually when you have, like, redemption stuff, like, whatever their bad guy plan is stopped, or maybe they kill a character or two, but when you're just, like, mass slaughtering civilians for chuckles, and not even for chuckles for him, he was just doing it. Like, they were doing it to distract and upset Satoru. So it's like they were using the people as tools for something else. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. Like, maybe Yuji, like, maybe it's like just because, like, Yuji messed with his mind, he's not gonna be like that anymore, and it's just like he's just a completely altered character, kind of like when Majin Buu became a good guy. It'll be done more like that, where it's just like, well, you have to look at it from the cursed spirit perspective and stuff, and then it comes down to, like, he's been altered now, and he's just gonna do a lot of clutch things to help eventually overweigh the previous stuff. I mean, maybe the fact that his mind has been altered, he'll be essentially like a new character. And as long, actually, on top of that, is if we get dialogue showing that he regretted it, and maybe he, like, learns of, like, why that was, not cool just to kill a bunch of random people, that will, I think, add on to it as well. His whole stuff right now, I think, is like one of the bigger question marks for the, like, continuing the story. Just because, like, if he's a character that is just, like, now part of the main cast, and no one ever brings up, hey, remember that time you murdered a lot of people? Hey, can we talk about that? If it's never brought up and it's just kind of glossed over, that would be I would hate that. Everything else that's going on I really like, but I'm super, super curious what Akutami's plan with Choso is. But, like, after that point, well, within that point, rather, because it's during the conversation that Yuji and Choso have, he's, like, saying how Sukuna is plotting something with, Fushiguro. I'm wondering if he wants to take his body and, make him a host, or, like, add him to his team or something. And all the people that got killed because Sukuna got out and everything, like, he doesn't want to get involved, because he knows that everyone that is adjacent to him at some point is at risk because of whatever Sukuna does. That's the big thing about it. Like, Yuji knows that he just has some strange ability to hold Sukuna down and hold him, like, in place. But if anytime that Sukuna is out and about, like, it's easy to understand from Yuji's standpoint to blame the deaths of any of these people on himself, because he knows that if he's available and he's like his mind is ready to go, like, to stop him, he can. So him not being able to do it It's just, you know, it's very easy to see like him connect those 2 points of like Sukuna did it, but I could have stopped it, so it's my fault. So Yuji's just in like a bad spot right now for him. I feel bad for him, and I really want to see what exactly the plan is for his character moving forward, because he's going from like a much happier main character to kind of like in that depression state and just like dead emotionally. And you even see it's really funny like near the end of the chapter, Choso dead-eyed, Yuji dead-eyed, freaking Yuta like dead-eyed, and then you have this Naoya guy who's got like this Orochimaru kind of like fiend, like super sinister smile to him. So I look forward to this. I got a little bit of hype in this Naoya guy. I liked the way that he was presented in this chapter, and again, I don't remember if he was shown in a previous one. I do like Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, I read the manga, I watch the anime, but I'm not like, I don't like reread it constantly. Like usually, like if I want to reread something, I'll go back and look. Like I think probably the part I've read the most is when Megumi first activated his domain expansion. That was probably to me like the most read part of the series, just because I love that scene, and he's my favorite character in the series, at least currently. This now you got like I don't know what it is. Maybe he'll live up to my high hopes for him, or maybe not like high hopes, but just like a potential bookmark on his character right now, because we don't know much about him, so I can't say high hopes. But I do like him so far, and it's clear that he is strong, so you know I don't have to worry about him just becoming, you know, no diff or like a, you know, measuring stick character, because that's a painful thing when you get hyped for like you see like new characters and you pick which one, you know, this is the guy that I'm hyped for, whatever, and then it's like they end up being like the character that just gets beaten first or whatever. They're a measuring stick to hype up somebody else. It's just like, damn, my you know, you put your cards in one spot, and unfortunately, you know, you fail on occasion. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, tell me your thoughts about this chapter. Again, I liked it. I think that this is a really good display of like a setup chapter, just going very smoothly, even with like there being a good amount of dialogue, nothing crazy. It was done in a way that like all the bits of dialogue had purpose and meaning, and it wasn't just kind of like talking to fill up the chapter. So we'll say this. I mean, like really, like what is it like? More than half of the chapter is with the, you know, the event setting up, you know, this guy as going after Megumi and Sukuna, you know, Sukuna's house, that being Yuji, to secure his spot as head of the Zen'in. Because this is a big thing for him. Because the Zen'in head out of the 3 major clans and head of the Zen'in, you're pretty much like in charge of, you know, you're going to be pulling the strings. Not like everything, but you're at least like a high ranking person. You know, you're going to be up there, you're going to have a lot of pull, you're going to have a lot of authority. And they even said, like, not just that. Like, I'm trying to look for a certain panel right before I end this. He says that, where is it? He's like, yeah, all the assets, including the cursed tools stored in Tokyo Prefecture, Jujutsu High School, and the Zen'in family cursed warehouses. That alone is like a big thing. So we know how like the cursed tools and like how useful they are, and like all their different abilities and stuff, and then just like the general upgrades characters can get by just using them, just being, you know, more capable of, especially if whatever they're using is like syncs up with their fighting style or their curse technique. If he has the access to all this and he can pick whatever he wants, like before he even like masters one, like he would have the best opportunity to advance his powers in any way that he would want. And I think that is like a big thing for him. Like, on top of everything else associated with it. Like, there is this, a bare bones to the ground, like, power move right there if he can just get that, like, in general. And on top of that, like, he'd be able to gear up whoever he wants, so he could bribe people with, you know, chances to get, like, certain cursed tools. Like, there's a lot that he can have just at his disposal of being in this authority seat. And he almost had it, and there's just a last-second switch for him, and he's pissed. So I hype to see how that goes. So other than that, no, comment below, thumbs up the video from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.